This rare Shadow ARF Trooper minifigure is worth $250. And this slightly less rare Captain Rex minifigure is also worth $250. And this common Shock Trooper is still worth $90. What's going on here, and why are these prices so high? LEGO Star Wars minifigures in general aren't cheap at all. And the reasoning for this might not be as simple as it seems at a quick glance. And no, we're not going to sit here today and talk about gold C-3PO and whatever other rare and super expensive minifigures are out there. I want to talk a little bit more generally about things today. For example, why do so many seemingly regular Star Wars minifigures cost twice as much as they did back in 2019? What's driving up the cost of these minifigures, and should they really be as expensive as they are? And what should LEGO do to fix this problem? Sure, LEGO in general is collectible, but Star Wars minifigures are among some of the most expensive ones out there. If you're new to LEGO Star Wars and you're just getting into collecting for the first time, or you're getting back into things as an adult, I'm sure you've been shocked by some of the aftermarket prices of LEGO Star Wars minifigures. $100 for a helmet, $20 for minifigures that came out in battle packs that were available everywhere? Why? Let's figure out how we got here. To start with, we have to go back to 2020. COVID was spreading and people were getting sent home from work and from school. And because of this, people had more free time on their hands, so they started to pick up hobbies. The collectibles market went crazy, and we saw this happen with everything from Pokemon cards to Squishmallows somehow becoming collectibles, and all kinds of other things. And LEGO fits perfectly into this space, being a pastime hobby and a collectible. Minifigures are super collectible, and building LEGO is the perfect hobby to kill time while you're at home and not as busy as usual. This created the perfect storm. You had people buying LEGO sets who hadn't touched it since their childhood. You buy one set, you build it, you finish it, you buy another one, you build that, and the cycle continues. And then you come to the realization that there are LEGO sets that came out a while ago that LEGO doesn't make anymore. But you want them anyways because they're super cool and you can add them to your collection to make it complete. And it pretty much just snowballs from there. The thing is, this scenario was super common. The LEGO hobby saw a massive influx of newcomers in 2020. LEGO has been seeing record profits, fan conventions like Brickworld Chicago are bigger than ever before, and LEGO content is becoming more popular online as well. So when you get an influx of people collecting LEGO and looking at retired sets and minifigures, the demand for things goes up pretty quickly. Things just get more expensive because supply is limited on things that aren't in production anymore. But I think this applies to LEGO as a whole in a more general sense. Lots of people got into LEGO during COVID, but I think LEGO Star Wars specifically saw an even bigger increase in popularity. And there are a few reasons for this, but first I want to tell you about how this happened for me. I got into LEGO during the last couple of months of 2020. I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a kid, and I had LEGO growing up too, but I hadn't touched a set in years. I'd been watching The Mandalorian, I saw some LEGO sets in stores, some family members bought me a couple sets for my birthday, and I was hooked. As all of this was happening, I also decided to start watching the Clone Wars TV show for the first time. Bo-Katan showed up in Mandalorian Season 2 and I had no idea who she was. One of my friends told me that she was in the Clone Wars and that I was absolutely missing out if I hadn't seen it before. He was right, by the way. So over the next couple months, my wife and I watched the Clone Wars and then we watched Rebels and we loved it. So of course, this affected what minifigures I was interested in buying. I liked Rebels a lot, but watching the Clone Wars made me really appreciate clones. And after finding out that LEGO had made so many different versions of clone minifigures, I knew I wanted to start collecting them. I started looking for clone minifigures from retired sets and I worked on building up my collection. And I was surprised when I found out that there were a lot of other people just like me. People who got into LEGO more after the start of COVID, but also started watching the Clone Wars TV show. They had missed out on it too, and now they had the time. I think the relevancy of certain characters that started showing up in The Mandalorian, on top of the fact that Season 7 of the Clone Wars released in early 2020, pushed a lot of people to watch the show in its entirety. So now you have all these brand new clone fans alongside fans of The Mandalorian who want LEGO Star Wars minifigures. On top of all of this, you have something else that's completely different that's happening at the same time. There are a lot of people who played with LEGO as kids that stuck with it throughout and were fans of the Clone Wars TV show as well. The thing is, when you're a kid, you don't have much money, if any. Maybe you get a LEGO set for your birthday or Christmas, and if you get an allowance, you save up some of that and you buy a couple LEGO sets. But all that changes when you get old enough to have a job. You get to work now, and maybe you have a little bit of extra spending money. You do that for a couple years, you go to college, maybe you graduate and get get an even higher paying job, and so you have even more excess income at this point. So now it's time to go get all those Lego sets and minifigures that you wanted when you were a kid but you couldn't afford. But what exactly is it that you want? Probably the same stuff all those other people want who just watched a bunch of Star Wars shows. You want Jedi, clones, maybe some important named characters, or classic figures from the early 2000s that you feel nostalgic for. Everyone wanting these same things dries up the demand for these retired minifigures and sets. It also doesn't help that most of these things were owned by a bunch of kids back in the day who would chew on things and draw on them with Sharpie. And as adults, we want minifigures that are in good condition. We don't want cracked heels, cracked arms, cracked torsos, things that have been chewed on, any of that stuff. But this is hard to find because at the end of the day, Lego's a toy and it's meant to be played with. So this just makes minifigures that are in good condition more desirable and more expensive. So why don't Lego just go ahead and take all these sets and figures and remake them with updated designs? I think part of their strategy has to be affected by the fact that they bought Bricklink back in 2019. In case you're not aware, Bricklink is the largest online marketplace for used, new, and retired Lego. You can get just about any minifigure set or part that you want on there if you're willing to pay for it. But the thing is, since Lego owns Bricklink, they get a cut of every single sale that happens on the platform, and on top of that, they have all of the data they could possibly ever want on the secondary Lego market. If they make $6 to $8 in fees every single time somebody buys a Captain Rex minifigure from somebody else, it doesn't really hurt them to drag their feet a little bit on making a new one. The other thing that I think has caused the value of certain minifigures to go up in price is the fact that Lego is making less battle packs now than they ever have in the past. And this is the first way that I think Lego can help fix the problem of overpriced minifigures. Battle packs are a great way for people to be able to collect common and desirable minifigures at an affordable cost. We used to get 2 to 4 battle packs per year, and now we just get 1. If Lego increased the number of battle packs that they put out per year, they could meet the demand of the market for army buildable figures while also making a ton of money along the way. And if you remember those $15 figure packs from last year, I think those would be the perfect candidate to release some named minifigures with updated designs and prints. They say they don't want to put desirable minifigures behind some expensive paywall, so let's see you do it. I think it's okay to have certain named characters in more expensive sets, but I really think that the common figures that people see in the Star Wars universe that appear all over the place should be cheaper and more available. I think that something Lego really needs to keep in mind is that from today through the next couple of years is going to be the best time in history to release a ton of prequel Lego sets. They've been slowly trickling things out here for a while, which I think is great, but they need to be careful with how slowly they're releasing these sets. The reality is, a lot of people that grew up with the prequels and the Clone Wars are in their teens to late 20s right now. So they're interested in those sets and minifigures. But I don't think that the demand is going to stay this high forever. I think it's inevitable that we will see some people falling off and moving on from Lego as a hobby. The market will shrink over time as people get older and they get busier. People go to college, they get married, they have kids, and their time for hobbies decreases as they get older. People leave hobbies behind that they enjoy every day because they just don't have the time, or they're not willing to make the time for it anymore. As a business, Lego wants to make as much money as they can, so I think the best time for this is now. And it's great that we have some more prequel stuff coming out later this year. I think it's a really good step in the right direction. But if it was up to me and I worked at Lego, I would be pushing this stuff a whole lot more. I mean, I think it's cool, I guess, that we're getting more 332nd Troopers, but at the end of the day, I think this is just Lego trying to play it safe by releasing something that's also related to the 501st. There are so many Clone Legions that haven't been made for years, or even at all, that would be great choices. We were able to buy 332nd Troopers up until December of last year in the Armored Assault Tank. So it's not really anything all that new or exciting. This year would have been the perfect opportunity to put out some plain Phase 2 clones or some clone commandos with their frequent appearances in Bad Batch. They're pretty relevant at the moment, and I've seen comments with thousands of likes on other YouTube videos saying that people want these clones. Instead, we end up with something that we already had available super recently. All that aside, I think it's pretty easy to see that Lego Star Wars minifigures are so expensive because the demand has just increased faster than Lego can keep up with. I really hope we see more figure remakes and battle packs to bring down the cost of desirable figures across the board. Especially prequel ones, because obviously I'm a little biased here. Let me know in the comment section down below which Clone Legion you want to see Lego make. Personally, I would love to see some plain Phase 2 clones or some clone commandos. For now, at least I have these custom guys that I can use in my mocks. Leave a like down below and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Otherwise, thanks for watching and I hope you have a good one.